The people closest to you are usually the first to betray you. Loyalty is rarely proven by affection, only by pressure, scarcity, and temptation. Most bonds survive comfort and die the moment incentives change, which means the reason that Chapter 1, the architecture of betrayal. Most people misunderstand betrayal because they imagine it as an event, a dramatic confession, a backstab, a text message exposed on a bright screen at 2 in the morning. But betrayal is almost never born in the moment it is discovered. It begins much earlier, in the private calculations people make about your value, your weakness, and your usefulness. A person in your orbit does not ask, "Do I care about them?" Not really. At the deeper level, they ask 3 colder questions. What do I gain by staying close? What do I lose by turning away? And who holds more power over my future? That is the real battlefield. Not affection, not chemistry, not history, power. This becomes especially dangerous in what people lazily call the friend zone. That word is often used to describe romantic frustration, but beneath the surface, it is a far more ruthless arrangement. It is a zone of asymmetry. One person gives more attention, more emotional labor, more availability, more strategic patience. The other person receives validation, resources, backup, and optionality. One person is investing, the other is auditing. And when asymmetry becomes normalized, loyalty becomes impossible to measure through words. The person benefiting from the imbalance has every incentive to keep things vague. They do not need to reject you completely. They only need to keep you emotionally rentable. This is why loyalty tests matter, not childish games, not manipulative cruelty. Pressure tests, structured moments that reveal whether a person protects your interests when doing so costs them something. History is full of this logic. Kings never trusted declarations made in banquet halls. They watched who remained when wars turned. Roman emperors learned that loyalty spoken in luxury dissolved in famine. Even in modern intelligence work, trust is never based on sentiment alone. It is measured through controlled exposure, conflicting incentives, and behavioral consistency. If that sounds cold, good, it should. Reality is colder than language. The first loyalty test is the test of controlled vulnerability. Most people reveal too much too soon. They hand over their fears, insecurities, family wounds, romantic hopes, and private ambitions because confession feels intimate. But intimacy is not trust. Intimacy is data. And in the wrong hands, data becomes leverage. So instead of spilling your deepest truth, you release a limited, non-fatal vulnerability. Something real but strategically contained. Maybe you mention a professional doubt. Maybe you admit that a recent situation frustrated you. Maybe you reveal a preference that could easily become social ammunition if repeated. Then you wait. What are you watching for? 3 things. First, containment. Do they keep it private? Second, tone. Do they respond with calm respect or with subtle excitement? Third, later deployment. Does your vulnerability reappear in jokes, in passive-aggressive remarks, or in moments where your status is being negotiated? Imagine this. You tell someone you trust that you are reconsidering a career move and feel uncertain about the next step. A loyal person treats that as protected information. A betrayer stores it. Then, a week later, when you are around others, they casually say, "Well, you have been confused about your direction lately." That sentence is not concern. It is an extraction. They converted your private uncertainty into public positioning. Think about your own life. Who becomes more careful after you share something delicate, and who becomes more animated? Who starts speaking as if your confession gave them ownership over your narrative? Those are not small differences. Those are X-rays of character. The second loyalty test is the test of minor boundaries. Grand boundaries are easy to respect because violating them makes a person obviously guilty. Minor boundaries are different. They expose entitlement, tell them no in a small way, refuse a convenience, delay a reply, decline a favor without over-explaining, change a plan that once centered them. Watch what happens. A person who values you will absorb the boundary and adapt. A person who values access to you will become irritated, colder, or theatrically wounded. Why? Because your compliance was part of the reward structure they had grown used to. This is the dark truth many people avoid. Some people are not attached to you. They are attached to the version of you that is easiest to consume. Look at old political courts, corporate circles, even family systems. The moment one person becomes less agreeable, the room changes. not because they became cruel, but because they stopped feeding an arrangement that benefited others. In every hierarchy, boundary resistance reveals dependency. The friend zone dynamic feeds on this. If you are always available, always listening, always rescuing, always orbiting, the other person may mistake your devotion for a permanent natural resource. But the instant that resource becomes limited, their reaction tells you whether they cared about you or merely your service. That is why the first two tests matter so much. Controlled vulnerability tells you whether they weaponize your trust. Minor boundaries tell you whether they respect your autonomy. Together, they answer the first brutal question in any human bond. Are they loyal to you, or loyal to the benefits they extract from you? Chapter 2. Scarcity, pressure, and the moment's masks begin to crack. The third loyalty test is the test of strategic absence. Presence creates illusion. Anyone can seem warm, interested, or emotionally attached when you are constantly available. Your energy smooths over contradictions. Your effort fills silence. Your initiative keeps the entire structure alive. So remove yourself, not dramatically, not with speeches, not with accusations. Quietly reduce access. Do less. Reach out less. Stop initiating every conversation. Let the thread cool. Let the silence breathe. What happens next is one of the purest forms of social truth. If the person values you, they will notice the shift and move toward you with sincere curiosity. If they value only the attention you provided, they will either disappear or return only when they need stimulation, validation, or practical support. There is a reason interrogators, negotiators, and behavioral profilers study silence. Silence forces people to reveal what motion was hiding. Some panic and chase. Some resent the loss of control. Some simply redirect to the next available source of supply. In one famous pattern repeated throughout aristocratic and political history, courtiers surrounded rising figures while influence was abundant. But when access tightened, calendars shifted, and invitations slowed, only a tiny fraction remained. Scarcity did not create betrayal, it exposed it. Now apply that to your own relationships. Look at the names in your phone. If you vanished from the role you currently play, advisor, admirer, emotional nurse, emergency contact, convenient listener, who would still seek you as a person? Not as a utility, as a person. That answer can be painful, but pain is cheaper than delusion. The fourth loyalty test is the test of contradictory incentives. This is where things become truly revealing. A person's declared allegiance means almost nothing until it collides with an opportunity that rewards disloyalty. You need to watch what they do when their interests split. Here's how the test works. You create a situation where supporting you is slightly inconvenient, socially risky, or less profitable than distancing from you. Nothing extreme. You are not trying to destroy lives. You are trying to observe alignment under tension. For example, suppose a mutual social circle is subtly mocking one of your decisions. The person close to you now faces a fork in the road. They can defend you and risk social friction. They can stay silent and preserve comfort. Or worse, they can join the mockery to purchase approval from the group. That reaction reveals command structure. It tells you who they truly serve: principle, convenience, or audience. This pattern appears everywhere. During the collapse of alliances in war, treaties often lasted only until a stronger force offered better terms. In office politics, colleagues praise integrity until promotions are involved. In romance, people promise emotional safety until attention from a more powerful option appears. One of the oldest signs of unstable loyalty is audience-dependent morality. If a person's treatment of you changes based on who is watching, then their center of gravity is external. They do not act from conviction, they act from surveillance. Here's a practical version. You share a moderate opinion or personal stance in private, they validate it. Later, in a group setting where that stance is less popular, they suddenly act distant from it or from you. This is not nuance, this is adaptive betrayal. They are showing you that social wind determines their loyalty. The fifth loyalty test is the test of asymmetric success. Success rearranges relationships faster than failure. Failure attracts pity, criticism, or distance. But success triggers something more complicated: comparison. Tell people good news, real progress, a promotion, new discipline, better options, increased attention from others. Financial improvement, a sharpened sense of self. Then study their micro-reactions. A loyal person becomes more stable in your rise. They do not need to diminish your momentum to preserve their identity. A disloyal person often performs support with their words while leaking envy through timing, tone, facial tension, dismissive jokes, or immediate topic shifts. You say you are doing well. They say, nice, but do not get arrogant. You mention a new opportunity. They answer, let us see if it lasts. You describe serious growth. They bring up an old version of you, the weaker version, as if trying to drag your current identity back into a cage they recognize. That is not humility. That is territorial control. The friend zone target is especially vulnerable to this test. Why? Because your rise threatens the imbalance. If you become more selective, more desired, more grounded, more difficult to manage, the old arrangement weakens. Some people who liked your devotion will suddenly dislike your development. And that is the revelation most people are not prepared for. Some individuals enjoyed your affection only while it confirmed their superiority. The moment your value becomes visible to others, they become colder, more confusing, or strangely critical. Not because you changed for the worse, because your growth disrupted their private hierarchy. When a person cannot celebrate your elevation without trying to reduce it, they are telling you exactly where their loyalty ends. Chapter 3. The exposure phase. The sixth loyalty test is the test of ethical friction. This is where you discover whether someone protects you only when doing so is easy, or whether they possess the rare capacity to stand still under moral pressure. Create a moment where a low-grade injustice is happening around you. Maybe someone misrepresents your words. Maybe a mutual friend spreads a distorted story. Maybe a group conversation casually shifts into disrespect. Then observe the person who claims closeness. Do they correct the record? Do they redirect the tone? Do they privately warn you? Or do they remain passive and later say, I did not want to get involved? That sentence has ended more illusions than any insult ever spoken. Because neutrality in the face of targeted harm is often just cowardice wearing polite clothing. In every era, from courts to campuses to boardrooms, betrayals have depended less on active enemies than on passive allies. The knife matters, but so does the hand that watched it being sharpened and said nothing. There is a historical reason informants, double agents, and political defectors are so feared. They understand that the most useful betrayal is not loud opposition. It is selective silence. It is allowing damage while preserving plausible innocence. So when someone says they care about you, but repeatedly stays absent from moments where your name, dignity, or reality is under attack, believe the pattern. They may not be your enemy in identity, but they are your enemy in effect. Now we arrive at the seventh and final loyalty test, the test of irreplaceability. This is the most dangerous one, because it reveals whether the bond was ever about you at all. You remove your primary function. If you were the one always texting first, stop. If you were the emotional support system, go quiet. If you were the planner, stop organizing. If you were the source of validation, stop rewarding performative closeness. If you were the one constantly interpreting their mixed signals in the most charitable way, stop translating confusion into hope. Then watch who they become when your labor is gone. This test is brutal because it strips the relationship down to its skeleton. Many bonds are not built on affection. They are built on unpaid roles. Therapist, fan, backup option, social shield, convenient admirer. Once you stop performing the role, the other person must confront the question they were unconsciously avoiding. Do I value this human, or only the function they provide? And if the answer is function, the atmosphere changes fast. Messages become sparse, warmth becomes administrative. Their curiosity about your life evaporates. The emotional electricity was never about connection, it was about supply. Think carefully about your own life here, not abstractly, specifically. Who only reaches for you when they need perspective, reassurance, transportation, distraction, praise, or rescue? Who knows how to receive your energy, but not how to reciprocate it? Who keeps you near while investing their real loyalty somewhere else? That last phrase matters, somewhere else, because every person serves something. Status, comfort, desire, fear, family expectations, social approval, their own ego, another romantic option, another alliance, another audience. Very few people consciously say this out loud, but their behavior does. Loyalty is just the answer to one question. When forces compete, what wins? And now the darkest truth of all, the point of these tests is not to trap people, it is to stop trapping yourself. Most suffering in relationships does not come from what others are. It comes from the stories we tell to avoid seeing what they are. We call exploitation confusion. We call cowardice complexity. We call convenience chemistry. We call asymmetry potential. But reality keeps a cleaner ledger. Who protects your absence? Who respects your no? Who seeks you without needing something? Who remains consistent across private and public settings? Who can handle your success without shrinking it? Who resists harming you even when passivity would be easier? Who still values you when your function disappears? Those 7 questions form a map. And that map leads to one conclusion. Loyalty is not declared, it is demonstrated under cost. Once you understand this, the friend zone loses its emotional fog. You stop asking, how do I make them choose me? You start asking, what have they already chosen repeatedly through behavior? That shift is power, not because it makes you cynical, but because it makes you accurate. Accuracy is mercy. False hope is not. Chapter 4. How to apply the 7 tests without becoming reckless. Now, intelligence without discipline turns into paranoia, so these tests must be used with precision. Not every delayed reply is betrayal. Not every awkward reaction is disloyalty. Not every inconsistency is evidence of malice. Human beings are messy, stressed, distracted, and often immature. The goal is pattern recognition, not obsessive prosecution. So here is the operational framework. First, space the tests naturally. Never run them all at once. If you create too many artificial pressures too quickly, you contaminate the result. Real loyalty reveals itself best when the other person does not feel theatrically examined. Use life as the laboratory, a boundary here, a silence there, a success shared at the right time, a controlled vulnerability offered once. Second, document behavior mentally, not emotionally. Do not ask, how did this make me feel today? Ask, what repeated over time? Betrayal often survives because people evaluate isolated moments instead of recurring structures. A person gossiped once. Fine, maybe it was weakness. A person repeatedly leaks your private information, minimizes your wins, goes cold when boundaries appear, and resurfaces only when they need something. That is no longer a bad day. That is designed. Third, separate confusion from contradiction. Someone can care about you and still be imperfect. But if their words and actions consistently point in opposite directions, trust the actions. A person saying, "You matter to me," while treating you as optional utility is not a deep mystery. It is a contradiction being decorated with language. Fourth, never announce the result too early. One of the most common mistakes is confronting a manipulative person before you have detached from their influence. The moment they sense exposure, they become performers. They apologize with unusual intensity. They suddenly mirror your values. They become attentive just long enough to restore access. This is not transformation. It is damage control. History teaches this well. Failed regimes often offered reforms only when collapse became imminent. Abusive power structures become kind when they detect rebellion. Manipulative individuals become emotionally fluent when they feel supply slipping away. Timing matters. Observe first. Withdraw second. Explain little. Fifth, understand the hierarchy of evidence. The strongest signs of disloyalty are not dramatic insults. They are repeated patterns under cost. If a person can only treat you well when there is no social risk, no inconvenience, no temptation, and no alternative reward, then their loyalty is decorative. It exists only inside ideal conditions. That means it does not exist when it matters. There is also a darker strategic principle here. The more you overinvest in proving your worth, the less clearly you can evaluate their behavior. Why? Because investment creates self-deception. Once you have spent months or years offering time, attention, gift, support, and emotional availability, the mind resists accepting that the exchange was one-sided. It feels humiliating. So people cling harder. They interpret scraps as signs. They call intermittent warmth progress. They become historians of tiny gestures because the larger truth is too expensive to admit. This is exactly how exploitation sustains itself. The strongest move is often the least theatrical one. You stop pleading, you stop decoding, you stop volunteering your labor into an arrangement that never earned it, and then you watch. If they care, they move with clarity. If they do not, the silence answers for them. That answer may wound your ego, It may dismantle a fantasy. It may force you to grieve not just a person, but an imagined future. But grief is still cleaner than prolonged manipulation. And this is where mature power begins. Not in controlling other people, but in ending your willingness to be controlled by ambiguity. The 7 loyalty tests are not merely tactics. They are lenses. They teach you to measure allegiance through cost, consistency, and conduct. They pull you out of the trance created by mixed signals. They return you to the only evidence that matters, behavior repeated when the incentives are unfavorable. If someone values you, that reality becomes clearer over time. If someone is using you, that reality also becomes clearer over time, but only if you stop interrupting the evidence with excuses. The question is not whether people are complex. They are. The question is whether complexity is being used as camouflage for exploitation. Once you can tell the difference, your world changes. You become harder to bait, harder to drain, harder to emotionally rent. And the people around you are forced to reveal whether they came for connection or consumption. Chapter 5. The final rule. After all 7 tests, one principle remains above the rest. Never confuse access with loyalty. Someone can answer your calls and still betray your interests. Someone can flirt with you and still use you as emotional insurance. Someone can share your bed, your jokes, your weekends, and still serve another priority when pressure arrives. Access feels intimate, but loyalty is proven only when intimacy becomes costly. This is why so many intelligent people get blindsided. They think frequency means allegiance. They think history means devotion. They think emotional intensity means trust. But intensity often hides instability. Familiarity often hides laziness. Proximity often hides appetite. Real loyalty is quieter. It is less theatrical. It does not need constant branding. It protects your name when you are absent. It respects your boundaries without punishing you. It does not compete with your growth. It does not feed on your confusion. It does not demand that you remain smaller to remain lovable. If the person you are studying fails these tests, do not negotiate with the evidence. Do not try to earn what should be voluntary. Do not audition for a role in someone else's hierarchy while calling it love, friendship, or patience. What you tolerate teaches others how to value you. So test carefully, observe coldly, decide cleanly. Because the most devastating betrayal is not when someone reveals who they are. It is when you see it clearly and stay anyway. If this changed how you read people, do not leave the lesson at entertainment. Study it, apply it. Build standards strong enough to survive charm, guilt, attraction, and ambiguity. Buy the book first if you are serious about becoming impossible to manipulate, or at minimum, check out the recommended books linked below and begin training your judgment with precision. To master these tactics in real life, get the Silent Observer's Playbook, or check out the recommended reading in the description below. Like and subscribe for more.